So prior to watching my video, I highly recommend you watch the official tutorial. I also really highly recommend that you look at the manual. It's really detailed and has a lot of information and is really good for specific troubleshooting. So the first thing you want to do is download NCorr. So to find it, you simply type ncorr.com. Then you click Downloads, and then you go to the program on the left and click that. And there's going to be a pop-up window here, but you just move it out of the way, and you should have it downloaded in your downloads folder. So NCorr uses C++, so if you want to use it on a Mac, you need to download an app called Xcode. It's going to be 12 gigabytes, so make sure you have enough storage for that. Once you have it downloaded, you want to accept the terms and conditions, but I already did that. So now you're going to go onto your MATLAB, and I'm just going to assume that you have it already. If not, there are tutorials to download it, and you should have a license if you're an NC State student. But anyways, you just downloaded your NCorr 2D MATLAB Master. So you can unzip it either in MATLAB, or I just unzipped it immediately. You want to open that, just the folder, so it should look like this. Now I'm going to open up the documentation because I've already downloaded it, so this will just help visually. I can't express enough how much I recommend looking at the documentation here. Also, make sure that you have the statistics and machine learning toolbox as well as the image processing toolbox, and I think you need the optimization and symbolic math toolbox as well. If you're doing this online, I don't think you need to download it. If you're using the software, then you do, but you need to download it through the software. You go to Home, Get Add-ons, and it should be there. So here, you're just typing next, -sign setup, C++ because that's the language that it's being written in. And on the tutorial, it'll say that you should see a certain type of text, but that's because they're running it on Windows. Since we're running it on Xcode, it should say something about Xcode and something about C++. Yep, exactly. Clang++. That's exactly what you want. It'll take more time for you because, like I said, I've already downloaded this. So yeah, after you set it up, you just want to type handles underscore NCorr equals NCorr. And when you first do this, it's going to look like you have an error, which I will show you in the documentation. Mine didn't do that, but I digress. Anyways, it's going to say there's some error, but you simply go here and they're going to ask about cores. Just keep everything at the default setting and just press OK, OK, OK. It should install from there, and if it's done correctly, it will say, do you want to set a path, which you saw earlier, and it'll show the GUI. So here we go, here is the GUI, perfect, that's what you want to see. Now I'm going to show you ImageJ and how to use that. So you don't need ImageJ for this, but it's a great tool because it's completely free and it can crop things and grayscale things pretty easily, and when it crops things, you can record a macro and it'll crop at the same dimensions. So you can download it for free with Mac OS. I'm not going to go into too much detail about that just because it's pretty straightforward, but when you open it, it should give you an interface like the one above here. So here I've uploaded my two images. Note how they're taken from the same angle and stuff. You still want to crop them at the same dimensions, so you're going to record a macro. And this just makes it a lot easier to ensure that they're the exact same. So you want to record a macro, just do things like you normally would. Take a rectangle of it, whoopsies, take a rectangle of it, and when you're doing this, make sure that you account for the second image too. So it shouldn't crop over anything. Now you want to crop it right there, and After that, you want to make it in grayscale just to reduce the amount of computation. So you do it like that, and you have that, so you can just highlight it, click on your next picture, and you just delete the select image thing. That's just annoying. And you can highlight it and press run. You can also create it and run it, but I just am lazy. So now you have two images, and they should look like they're the exact same dimensions. Just as similar as possible is what you want, because NCorr needs that to work. And now you're going to want to save it, so you go to File, and you have to save as. You can save it as whatever. I save it as a JPEG, and this is important. It needs to be in this format. So you name it whatever you'd like, _1, _2, etc. And your initial image is going to be _1, and then the following ones should be _2, etc. You know what I mean. And if you do end up saving your macro, just don't forget to take out all this extra stuff that it will accidentally put in there. So in order to create the ROI, I use Adobe Photoshop because it has multiple layers, but you can use ImageJ. But the overall process is the same. Only difference is ImageJ doesn't have layers. So you want to create a top layer for Photoshop and just draw, use your lasso, your polygonal lasso tool, draw right over it. You want to leave spaces on the edges. You don't want it to be exactly there, but you also don't want to include this squished piece as I have done here, and I end up changing it later. You want to fill it with white. So white, NCorr will read white as the color that that everything is going to be inside your substrate, and black is going to be the parts that they ignore. So your piece that you are, attaching to your substrate, you want that to be black. And I'm going to say this as a PNG, which is going to create a transparent background, but if you're using ImageJ, you're going to just want to make this background black. So everything that's not white, you're just going to make black instead. And then you can save it as a JPEG. Here I am struggling with selecting it, but anyways. Yeah, so I've set the opacity low just so I can, see what I'm working with here. Now, if you want to create multiple seeds, here's what you do. So you create a brush, and here I made the brush too big, but you want the brush to be kind of small, but you want to just draw a line just like that, a black line wherever you'd like. But you also don't want to leave out too much of your substrate that's being stretched. You want to have as much, information as possible, so might as well make the line thinner. However, I personally have found that I've gotten better results when there aren't too many seeds, and especially for something like this, just a simple substrate, I found it's just better to have just one seed. So I'm not going to do that, but if you want to, that's how you do it. So if you are using Photoshop, make sure you click Save a Copy, otherwise for some reason you can only save it as a PDF. If you're using a transparent background, it needs to be a PNG, otherwise JPEG is fine, or PNG. Now we just pull up MATLAB again, since we've got all the information and images that we need. So now you're going to go to File, Load Reference Image, and you're going to select the first image. The one that is before your stretching should be image 1. Now you're going to go to Load Current Image, just lazy, and find your second image. You are able to use more than just one image, but I found that the best results are when there are just a before and after image. Now you want to load up your ROI that we just drew in Photoshop or ImageJ. So you can draw one, and that's totally fine, but you're better off just loading one up. So here's how you draw one, just in case you want to use that tool anyways. Using NCorr is involving a lot of trial and error, so I would really recommend that before you set your own parameters, just try what NCorr has calculated that it should be from the get-go, because oftentimes that is the best method. So I apologize, it's difficult to read the screen recording stuff here, but you can see the iterative solver options, the diff num CO. You can increase that and you can decrease the iterative number CO, and that will make it faster if you're finding that it's taking like 5 minutes to load your images. The advantage to having just a before and after picture is that you can make the settings kind of computationally intensive without really having to worry about it. You're going to get it a lot more detailed that way. Anyways, now you perform the DIC analysis, you select region. Here we just have one region. Select seeds. This is definitely going to be trial and error. You are going to just select a dot. That's just what the seeds mean. You're going to finish that and it's going to say this. And all that means is that NCorr is thinking that the seed that it found after the fact is not the same as the seed that you selected. And right here you can see that is 100% correct. It's not where the seed went. So then you press cancel and you just keep on trying to find a seed that works. So I try here, also doesn't work. This is really just trial and error here, but eventually you'll get it. And here is what it should look like. You can tell that they're the exact same, so that is good. They're in the same location, same shape. So you press finish after this, finish again, and you kind of just go on to the next step. It's going to take a while sometimes, and NCorr crashes a lot for me, so don't be discouraged by that. Just try to reopen it, try to close as many other applications as you have. Maybe if you have a stronger computer, this won't happen, but it does for me. So now you want to press Format Displacements, and this is what you want. So I wasn't too familiar with strain when I first started this, but basically the displacement is just telling you where your substrate is moving. It's not telling you anything about how it's stretching. So when it's looking like a rainbow, this is what you want, because I'm just having my substrate stretch right and left in an equal direction. So this rainbow is great. The left axis, or the left diagram, is saying where it's moving on the x-axis, and the one on the right is the y-axis. So here you can set some more parameters. Like I said, unless you know for sure that you want to change things, I would highly recommend keeping all the settings the exact same as they say. But if you want to set a scale, here's how you do it. You just load your image. It's very simple, but I didn't set a scale here, so I'm just making stuff up, saying that that is 10 millimeters. It is not, but this is just a tutorial, so I'm not going to bother too much with it. There are other measurements that you can change, like the coefficient and the minimum and maximum, but like I said, I would start with NCorr's default settings that they give you, and then if you're not getting the results you like, then you can change it afterwards. So here, NCorr crashes, unfortunately, but I get it running again, luckily. So now you want to calculate strains, so you can change the radius just to get like a bigger, radius of just, I guess, your sample. You can also change it from U displacement to V displacement. That's just saying that you want to measure the y-axis instead of the x-axis, but we don't really want that, of course. As you can see here, I try to make the radius go over the top and bottom side of my E-gain, but it's not doing that, so then I end up just moving it to the side right here. So now, finally, last step is done. Now you can look at the strain plots. So you just go here, and I just click all. Here we go, and here we go. So blue means it's being compressed. Warmer colors mean it's being stretched. So this is just saying that in the x-axis, we're stretching it, and in the y-axis, we're compressing it, which makes sense given my before and after image. And you can adjust the settings, the min and the maximum, and hopefully this tutorial helps. Let me know if you have any questions.